The forbidden serum. The battlefield smelled of smoke and burning metal. Across the ruined valley, the sky glowed red from fire and falling debris. Human soldiers were retreating, their weapons broken, their hope fading. The alien army pushed forward with ruthless discipline, their tall, armored bodies shining under the broken sun. Every blast shook the ground. Every cry made the silence afterward heavier. Humanity stood on the edge of collapse. Among the chaos, one soldier remained standing where others had fallen. His name was Ethan Cross. His armor was cracked, his arm bleeding, but his eyes still carried fire. He knew this might be humanity's last stand, and he refused to bow. Yet deep inside, he felt the weight of truth. Against such overwhelming numbers, one man could not hold the line. Then she appeared. From the smoke came a figure in a torn white coat, running toward him. She was not a soldier, but a scientist, her face pale, her hands shaking. In her grip, she held a small metal case, dented but unbroken. She stumbled to Ethan and opened it. Inside was a glass vial, glowing with a dark green liquid that seemed alive, swirling like a storm trapped in a bottle. Her voice trembled. "Ethan, this is the only way left. But listen to me carefully. If you drink this serum, you will win. You will have strength no human has ever known, but you will stop being human. It will take your soul. It will change you forever." Ethan stared at the vial. The battlefield thundered around them, screams and explosions filling the air. He wanted to throw it away. He wanted to believe humanity could fight with courage alone. But he had seen too much. He had watched cities burn, families broken, children hiding from alien flames. He had buried too many friends. The ground shook as alien war machines moved closer. Their weapons hummed, ready to erase everything in their path. His comms. Raids were gone. Only he remained. He clenched his fist. "What do you mean, stop being human?" The scientist's eyes filled with sorrow. "You will lose your empathy, your love, your memories of who you are. You will become something else, something closer to a predator than a man, a weapon with no soul." Ethan looked at the enemy lines, endless and unstoppable. He felt fear, but also rage. Humanity had given everything, and still it wasn't enough. Maybe courage wasn't enough anymore. Maybe, to save his people, he had to sacrifice himself. He picked up the vial. It pulsed in his hand, warm and hungry, as if it was waiting for him. The scientist grabbed his wrist. "Please, if you drink this, there is no going back. You will not recognize yourself. I beg you, Ethan, don't lose your soul." For a moment, time froze. He remembered his childhood, the laughter of his mother, the warmth of sunlight on his face, the simple joy of being human. But then he remembered the screams of the dying, the silence of graves, the faces of his fallen brothers. Which memory mattered more, the past he wanted to protect or the future slipping away? His voice was steady. "If humanity falls tonight, those memories mean nothing. If I must become a monster to keep Earth alive, then so be it." The scientist's tears fell silently. She stepped back, her face pale with fear. Ethan raised the vial to his lips. The liquid glowed brighter, almost alive, like it knew it had found its host. He closed his eyes, and in that second, he felt the weight of choice crushing him. He knew once it touched his tongue, Ethan Cross the man would begin to disappear. Then he drank. The serum slid down like fire. His chest burned. His veins felt as if they were filled with lightning. He dropped to his knees, gasping as his body convulsed. The scientist screamed his name, but her voice sounded far away. His muscles, too, tore and rebuilt themselves. His senses exploded. He could hear alien machines miles away, smell the metal of their weapons, taste the fear of soldiers hiding in the dirt. His heart pounded like thunder. His skin glowed faintly. His eyes burned with an unnatural light. He felt power rushing into him, a river with no end. But with that power came something darker. The sound of his mother's laughter slipped from his mind. The warmth of sunlight vanished like smoke. In its place rose a cold hunger, sharp and merciless. The scientist fell to her knees, whispering in horror, "I warned you. You are not human anymore." Ethan stood slowly. The world around him felt smaller, weaker. The alien army that once looked invincible now felt like prey. He opened his hands and felt energy surge like claws waiting to tear through flesh. He should have been afraid. He should have felt doubt, but all he felt was focus and hunger. He turned his gaze to the enemy. His glowing eyes pierced the smoke like fire. The aliens paused for the first time, sensing something new, something unnatural rising before them. And in that silence, Ethan smiled, not with joy, not with hope, but with the cold certainty of a predator about to strike. The serum had done its work. Ethan Cross was no longer just a man. He was becoming something else. Transformation begins. Ethan stood in the center of the burning valley, his chest rising and falling like a storm contained in human flesh. The serum's fire still burned inside him, twisting his veins with unnatural energy. His senses had stretched far beyond human limits. He could hear the scrape of alien claws against metal, the rapid heartbeat of soldiers hiding, even the faint whisper of wind through shattered armor plates. For a moment, the battlefield grew quiet. The aliens, creatures who had never feared humans, paused. Their commanders barked orders in their guttural language, but hesitation spread like a shadow. Something about this lone soldier was different, something they could not understand. Ethan's hands trembled as he looked at them. His skin was harder, darker, lined with faint glowing veins. His nails sharpened into points. He felt hunger rising, not for food, but for conflict. His body demanded it, as though the serum had awakened a predator buried inside his bones. Behind him, the scientist whispered, her voice shaking, "Ethan, please, stop before it's too late." But Ethan could not stop. His heart thundered with power. He stepped forward and the ground cracked beneath his boots. The alien war machines aimed their weapons. Energy cannons glowed. A blast of plasma shot across the valley. Ethan didn't dodge. He didn't need to. He raised his arm and the energy splashed against his skin, burning for only a second before his body absorbed it. The glow spread through his veins, feeding the beast inside him. The aliens roared in confusion. Another volley fired. Ethan moved this time, faster than sight, a blur of shadow and fire. He ripped through metal armor with bare hands, tearing an alien soldier apart as if it were paper. Blood splattered the dirt. The soldier screamed. Even his own surviving comrades gasped in horror. They had wanted a savior, but what they saw looked less like a man and more like a nightmare wearing human skin. Ethan's breathing grew heavy. For each kill, the hunger sharpened. He wanted more. His mind flickered with faint memories of who he was, but they slipped further with every strike. He could no longer recall his mother's smile. He couldn't even remember his own laughter. Only the fight mattered now. Only the hunt. The scientist ran closer, tears streaking her dirty face. She screamed, "Ethan, this is not you. You are losing yourself." He froze for a moment, her words piercing through the storm in his head. He turned toward her, his glowing eyes flickering with something human. And then it vanished. He smelled the fear in her breath. He could hear her pulse quicken. She wasn't prey, but the predator inside him whispered, "Everything is prey." He clenched his fists, shaking, forcing himself to turn back toward the aliens. For now, the war held his focus. The alien commander, a towering figure with 4 arms and armor forged from black steel, stepped forward. He carried a war axe buzzing with energy, his voice a growl that shook the air. He shouted to his soldiers in their own tongue, "This human is no man. This is corruption. Kill it before it spreads." Ethan tilted his head, studying the commander like a predator studies a challenge. Then he moved. The fight was chaos. The alien swung his massive axe, cutting trenches into the ground. But Ethan was faster. He dodged with impossible speed, striking with claws that shredded steel. The commander roared in pain as Ethan tore through his armor. But as Ethan struck, his face showed no anger, no triumph, only emptiness. The human emotions that once guided him were slipping into silence. His comrades watched in terror. One whispered, "That's not Ethan anymore." That's something else. The battle raged until Ethan finally pierced the commander's chest, ripping the alien heart free. He dropped the body without a second thought. Around him, the alien army faltered, their courage crumbling. And then Ethan spoke. His voice was deep, hollow, and chilling. You thought humanity was weak. You thought we would fall. But now you face something worse. Now you face the predator you created. The words weren't just for the aliens. They were for himself. Because deep down, Ethan knew he was no longer human. The scientist fell to her knees, staring at him with despair. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "He doesn't even realize. His soul is almost gone." Ethan turned toward her, his glowing eyes cold and sharp. For a heartbeat, silence hung heavy. Would he hurt her? Would he tear apart the very person who had warned him? Instead, he looked past her toward the horizon, and where alien reinforcements were marching. His lips curved into a slow, cruel smile. The serum had not just given him strength, it had given him instincts, predator instincts. He could feel them coming, sense their numbers, taste their fear before they even arrived. For the first time in history, the aliens felt it too, not the strength of a man, not the courage of a soldier, but the presence of something new, something they could not control, something that hunted them. Predator unleashed. The battlefield was silent after the commander's fall. The alien army had tasted fear for the first time. They stepped back, their weapons trembling in hands that had never known doubt. Smoke curled through the ruins, and in the middle of it stood Ethan, glowing veins burning like fire under his skin. His breathing was steady, too steady, like the calm of a beast ready to strike again. But silence never lasted long in war. From the dark sky above, new shapes descended, sleek ships cutting through the smoke. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the alien elites, assassins forged from the deadliest species in the galaxy. Each of them carried blades that shimmered with energy, their armor lined with strange symbols of honor. They did not fear death. They had come to kill the predator before it grew stronger. The scientist gasped when she saw them. They sent the shadow hunters. Ethan, even you can't. But her words broke as she saw him smile, a cruel, hollow smile. Ethan didn't raise a gun. He didn't reach for a blade. He crouched low, his glowing eyes fixed on them, and then he moved. He was faster than the wind. One moment he stood still, the next he was tearing into their ranks. The first elite didn't even scream before Ethan's claws ripped through its throat. Another swung a blade, but Ethan caught it barehanded. Sparks danced as steel met skin, and then shatter. Red as Ethan crushed the blade to dust. His counterstrike split the alien in half. The shadow hunters attacked in formation, their movements perfect, but it didn't matter. Ethan tore through them like paper, every strike filled with inhuman precision. Their screams echoed across the valley, mixed with the sound of snapping bones and tearing metal. Yet as he fought, his comrades, those few humans still alive, backed away in horror. They had prayed for salvation, but what they saw now didn't feel like a savior. It felt like a demon walking in their skin. The scientist's hand shook as she whispered, "This isn't war anymore. This is slaughter." Ethan felt it too. With every kill, the hunger inside him grew. His senses sharpened beyond imagination. He could hear the blood rushing through veins before he struck. He could smell fear like perfume in the air. The serum had turned battle into a hunt, and his instincts were no longer human. One elite warrior managed to stab him through the side. For a second, victory seemed near. But Ethan only looked down at the blade, then laughed, a cold, empty laugh. His hand gripped the alien's head, and with one motion he crushed it like glass. The wound closed before the scientist's eyes, glowing veins knitting flesh back together. She covered her mouth in horror. He doesn't even feel pain anymore. But what frightened her most wasn't the healing. It was the look in Ethan's eyes. They were no longer human eyes. They were the eyes of something born for the hunt, something that lived only for prey. When the last shadow hunter fell, silence returned again. Ethan stood surrounded by broken bodies, his chest rising slowly, his face unreadable. The battlefield smelled of blood, smoke, and fear. The surviving human soldiers whispered among themselves, "That's not Ethan. He's gone. He's not one of us anymore." Ethan turned toward them. For a terrifying second, they froze under his gaze. His eyes glowed brighter, and his head tilted slightly like he was studying them. Not as friends, but as possible prey. The scientist stepped between them quickly, her voice trembling but strong. "Ethan, look at me. You are not their enemy. You are not our enemy. Fight it. Please fight it." For a moment his expression flickered. A shadow of the man he had once been crossed his face. His lips parted as if he wanted to say something. But then the predator inside surged forward again. His face hardened. He whispered, voice deep and hollow, "You're wrong. Everything is prey." The human staggered back in fear. Only the scientist dared to hold her ground, tears streaming down her cheeks. Before Ethan could move closer, the ground trembled. The air shook with the roar of engines. On the horizon, massive alien warships appeared, dozens of them, filling the sky like thunderclouds. They had seen their elites fall. Now they were bringing an army meant to erase the predator once and for all. But Ethan didn't flinch. He didn't run. He didn't even seem afraid. His glowing eyes narrowed, and slowly he began to smile again. Because to him, this wasn't an army. It was a feast. The scientist whispered desperately, "Dear God, what have we created?" And Ethan, standing tall under the burning sky, spread his arms as if welcoming the storm. His voice carried across the battlefield, dark and certain. "Let them come. Tonight, the galaxy learns fear." The galaxy trembles. The alien warships filled the horizon, blotting out the sky with black steel and burning engines. Their weapons glowed as they charged, each cannon capable of erasing a city. The ground shook beneath the thunder of their fleets, and every surviving human soldier felt despair pressing into their bones. But Ethan did not feel despair. He felt hunger. His glowing eyes tracked the ships as if they were prey circling too close to the hunters do. And his breath was slow, steady, unnatural. Every heartbeat echoed in his veins like drums of war. The serum had not only changed his body, it had awakened instincts that should not exist in a human. The scientist's voice trembled as she stared up at the incoming fleet. "They are not here to fight you, Ethan. They are here to erase you. Entire fleets, thousands of ships. You can't fight them all, not even you." Ethan's head tilted slightly, his lips curling into a cold smile. "You still don't understand. I don't fight them. I hunt them." The words chilled her blood. Across the galaxy, news of the predator spread faster than any fleet could travel. Alien communication channels buzzed with fear. Whole councils gathered in panic. They whispered of the human who drank forbidden power, the soldier who tore apart armies and laughed in the face of death. Some alien rulers dismissed the stories as exaggeration. Others shivered, remembering the images of slaughter. But one truth united them all. Humanity, once mocked as fragile and weak, now had a monster walking in its name. In the dark chambers of an alien senate, voices rose in anger and fear. If the predator lives, he will spread. If one human has taken the serum, what if others follow? We must unite. This thing must be destroyed before it consumes us all. And for the first time in centuries, rival empires, species who had hated each other, spoke with a single voice. Their target was not Earth. It was Ethan. The predator's instinct. Back on the battlefield, Ethan stood tall, his veins glowing brighter with each passing second. He could sense the alien fleets even before they opened fire. His mind reached beyond the ordinary. He felt their fear, their hesitation, their plans. The scientist clutched her chest, staring at him in disbelief. You can feel them?" Ethan's smile widened. "They scream before they strike." The sky lit up as the first wave of energy cannons fired. Beams of destruction rained down. Entire mountains cracked, fire consumed the earth, shock waves blasted craters into the valley. And the smoke cleared. Ethan still stood. His armor was gone, his body scarred but glowing. His wounds sealed themselves as fast as they appeared. The serum had made him into something the galaxy was never meant to face. He lifted a hand toward the fleet above. Energy danced along his fingertips, stolen from the plasma they had poured on him. With a roar, he hurled it back. A beam of power, brighter than lightning, shot from his hand and tore through the nearest warship. The vessel split apart, exploding into a storm of burning metal. The alien fleets froze. The human soldiers watching from the ground dropped their weapons in awe. One whispered, "That's not a man anymore. That's a god." Humanity watches. Far across Earth and its colonies, transmissions carried fragments of the battle. Humanity saw Ethan, the glowing figure tearing warships from the sky. Some cheered, calling him their savior. Others trembled, seeing not salvation but a monster wearing their uniform. A child pointed at the screen and whispered to her mother, "Is he still human?" The mother had no answer. The scientists' despair. As the battle raged, the scientist fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She had wanted to save humanity, but this was not salvation. This was something else entirely. She whispered to herself, "We didn't create a hero. We created the end of what it means to be human." Ethan turned to her, his eyes glowing like fire. For a heartbeat, his expression softened, as if a fragment of Ethan Cross, the man, still lived inside. But then the predator swallowed it again. He whispered almost tenderly, "Heroes die. Predators survive." The galaxy trembles. Above, fleets regrouped. More ships warped into orbit, their numbers multiplying. Entire empires were sending reinforcements. The galaxy was gathering its strength, desperate to crush this new terror. But every commander, every soldier, every alien heart carried the same thought. If this is just one human, what happens if there are more? The galaxy, once proud and fearless, now trembled. And on the burning world below, Ethan looked up at the sky filled with enemies and whispered with chilling certainty, "They will learn tonight. Humanity was never prey." The final choice. The sky burned with fire as alien fleets surrounded the planet. Their weapons glowed like 1,000 suns, ready to wipe out the one they feared most. Ethan stood in the ruins below, his body scarred yet unbroken, his veins glowing brighter than ever. He looked less like a man and more like a living storm. The surviving human soldiers cowered behind shattered walls. They no longer knew whether Ethan was their protector or their executioner. Even his own allies whispered in fear. One soldier muttered, "He's not fighting for us anymore. He's fighting for himself." The scientist, still trembling, forced herself to step closer. Her voice cracked but did not break. "Ethan, stop this. You've already shown them what one human can do. If you keep fighting, you'll lose yourself completely. There will be nothing left of you." Ethan turned his head slowly, his glowing eyes locking on her. For a fleeting second, his face softened. The man inside him flickered, almost reaching through the storm. But then, from the sky, the alien fleets fired. The feast of war. Beams of destruction rained down, shaking the ground, tearing craters into the world. Ethan raised his hands, absorbing the energy into his body like a predator drinking blood. He roared, and the power exploded outward. Warships shattered, burning across the sky. The galaxy watched in horror. Billions of eyes across alien worlds saw a single human tearing apart fleets, as if they were insects. They whispered legends in fear, legends of the predator who could not die, the monster born from Earth. But with every strike, Ethan felt something slipping. Memories of his childhood faded into shadows. His laughter, his love, his pain, gone. The pain. Serum had promised power, and it had delivered, but at the cost of the soul inside. The scientist screamed through the chaos, tears running down her face. "Ethan, if you kill them all, you will be nothing but the serum. You will never come back. Please, make a choice before it's too late." Her words cut through the roar of battle. For a heartbeat, Ethan froze. The predator's dilemma, the predator inside whispered to him. There is no choice. There is only survival. Hunt or be hunted. But another voice, faint and fragile, echoed from the depths of his fading humanity. His mother's voice, the laughter of his friends, the memory of holding a weapon not for hunger, but for protection. He trembled, his claws shook, his glowing eyes flickered between fire and shadow. The scientist's voice broke through again. You are more than a weapon. You are Ethan Cross. You are human. Don't let them take that from you. The alien fleets prepared their final strike, gathering all their power into one devastating barrage. Entire continents would be erased in a single blast, and Ethan knew he had one chance left. The final choice. He could unleash everything, become the predator completely, tear the fleets apart and let the galaxy drown in fear. But in doing so, Ethan Cross, the man, would vanish forever. Or he could hold back, risking his own life, maybe even dying, but keeping the last fragment of his humanity alive. The storm raged inside him. The serum screamed for blood. The predator demanded survival. But the human, the fading spark of Ethan, remembered why he had taken the serum in the first place. Not for himself, for humanity. With a roar that shook the heavens, Ethan leapt into the sky. His body burned like a falling star. He met the alien fleets head-on, drawing their fire, absorbing their destruction. But instead of unleashing it outward in hunger, he held it inside for forcing his body to contain the storm. The power tore him apart from within. His veins burst with light, his skin cracked like glass, his roar echoed across the galaxy. One by one, the alien ships overloaded, collapsing under the force of their own weapons reflected back at them. The sky turned into a storm of fire. Fleets shattered, their wreckage falling like meteors. The galaxy trembled, not at a predator's hunger, but at a man's final stand. The end of Ethan Cross. When the last warship fell silent, the battlefield was still. Smoke curled into the sky. Silence spread across the galaxy. In the center of the ruins, Ethan knelt, his glowing veins fading, his body broken. The predator was gone. The serum's hunger had burned away with the storm. All that was left was a man, barely breathing, but human again. The scientist ran to him, tears streaming, and caught him before he collapsed. His eyes, once burning with fire, now looked tired, almost peaceful. He whispered faintly, "Did we win?" She sobbed, nodding. "You saved us, Ethan. You saved humanity." His lips curved into the faintest smile. Then, "It was worth it." His eyes closed. His breathing slowed. And for the first time since he drank the serum, Ethan Cross looked human again. The legend. Across the galaxy. Silence turned to whispers. Empires spoke of the battle, of the man who stood against fleets, of the predator who chose to be human in the end. Some called him a monster. Others called him a savior. But all agreed on one thing. Humanity was no longer weak. Because one man had shown that even in the face of extinction, even when stripped of everything, the human spirit could shake the galaxy. And so began the legend of Ethan Cross, the man who became the predator, but chose to die human.